Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I wonder if Odd Thomas is related to Even Stevens.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Odd Thomas, which released in 2013. Based on the novel by Dean Koontz, with a screenplay by Stephen Sommers and directed by Stephen Sommers. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Anton Yelchin's character, Odd Thomas. He lives in the town of Pico Mundo and can see spirits. He uses these ghosts to be able to take him to the perpetrators of murders and crimes and bring them to justice. But Odd Thomas has noticed a lot of strange creatures hanging around his town and has a feeling that something bad is on the horizon.
This town is in serious trouble.
So I've been a bit of a Stephen Sommers fan ever since Deep Rising.
Yeah.
And then he followed that up with The Mummy.
Yes.
Which is just excellent. But unfortunately, his career took a bit of a nosedive with Van Helsing. And then with G.I. Joe, The Rise of the Cobra.
You know, they're not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never watched G.I. Joe because, I mean, it just looked awful and everybody said it was awful.
Yeah, G.I. Joe is not, it's not a Transformers.
Pretty much the end of his career, but that's because nobody ever heard of his last film.
Yes.
Which is Odd Thomas. And that's because this film pretty much had the most limited theatrical run you can imagine.
Yeah.
And then it went straight to streaming with zero marketing and publicity. So nobody was even aware that this film even existed. It was supposed to have a theatrical run, and that's why the producers of this film ended up suing the financiers who cut the budget and didn't give them any budget for the marketing, which meant the film was shelved until 2014, where it then went to streaming.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of... And then knowing that that's Stephen Sommers' last film, maybe with the terrible G.I. Joe and with the mishandling of this film... It's just not really working anymore.
I mean, in his defense, you say terrible G.I. Joe, but you haven't watched it.
Yeah.
It's not bad. The sequel's worse. But I'm going off on a tangent there. I mean, a lot of people said the same thing about Deep Rising. Deep Rising's amazing. You know, it's Treat Williams. I love Treat Williams. But I had kind of just seen the advert for this when I used to have cable, or Sky as we call it over here. And he you know, the advert for Odd Thomas would either be on Sci-Fi Channel, which is where movies go to die, you know, or the Horror Channel, which isn't really the Horror Channel because the horrors they show on there, well, it's better than Shudder. It used to be better than Shudder. And I kept thinking to myself, oh man, that looks really great. I love Anton Yelchin. I really want to watch more of his stuff. You know, I love the Star Trek movies. I'm a Trekkie. I don't care. He is my Chekhov along with the other Chekhov. You know, Green Room.
Yeah.
Man, what a fucking movie.
Exactly, yeah. Quality.
You know, like... and Fright Night as well. Like, okay, yes, no blasphemy on the original. The original is so much more fun. But the remake with him and Colin Farrell, it's got a bit of a kind of 2000 punch to it. It's not bad. So when we saw this on the list, I was like, yep, let's watch Odd Thomas. And... what did you say about the budget when we were getting ready? Like, they just pulled the rug out.
Yeah,
the money.
They lost their funding like halfway through production and had to stop filming for nearly a month.
Yeah.
And then get some money together and then finish shooting the film.
And so I kind of lay most of my negatives to this movie at the feet of whoever decided that idea. Because Anton Yelchin is great in this. Willem Dafoe is great in this. You know... Addison Timlin, who plays Stormy, she's great in this. But the plot itself and the way it gets from, say, point A, the beginning, to point B, the ending, that's weak.
Well, I do like Dean Koontz, but I'd never read the Odd Thomas novels. And there's a whole series of these Phantoms, yeah.
Phantom's like a motherfucker.
Right? So, yeah, it was kind of like, so the whole story's already there. It's just then, I mean, Stephen Sommers also did the adaptation as well as direction.
Yeah.
So I imagine there was a lot of stuff that they may have had to cut out.
Yeah.
But the film, it's one of those films where it's like there's so much information and backstory that throughout the entire film, you're going to have Odd Thomas's narration. The film opens with his narration as he gets you up to speed with everything that you need to know about this world and how he can basically see dead people, see their spirits,
Yeah.
and he's helping them get to the other side. But this first case is a violent murder case where this girl approaches him
Yeah.
and leads him to somebody who already knows Odd Thomas, and he knows him.
Well, that's it. Like, the way this movie establishes itself really early, it's like, he lives in Pico Mundo. He's lived there pretty much all of his life. His mum and dad were happy until his mum started to go off on a massive mad one because she supposedly has the same powers as her son, or maybe even stronger. She gets locked up in a mental institution, and now Odd Thomas has gotten to the age of whatever he is now, 20, early 20s in this movie. But for most of his life, he's done this, and he can see spirits and, were they Bojacks? The weird kind of invisible creatures. And this girl is a girl that he knows, so that when she takes him to the car of Harlow Landison, like, he's this rich kid, I suppose, who loves his car more than anybody else, and that's when Odd touches him with the psychic flash.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not quite sure how the powers work. I'm like, did these two go to school together? How does Odd Thomas know everybody? Is it really that small a town?
Yeah, and everybody knows he's Odd. And it's not that his name is Odd because he's odd. He was going to be called Todd, but there was a misprint, so it just came out as Odd. But lo and behold, he's odd as well, like odd.
Hey!
Yeah, okay. And so, yeah, the girl kind of points him out, and so, well, it doesn't say anything, which is kind of freaky, but you basically get the idea that, yeah, from Odd, that the guy in the car raped and murdered and killed the girl and dumped her body, and he's been carrying around a piece of fabric with
her dried blood
on it because of a trophy or something.
Now, I think the girl's got her hand on his shoulder at this sequence, like giving him the memories or the flashes of what actually happened.
Yeah.
So I was like, because he doesn't come across as psychic ever in the film, so I was like, I guess the spirits must communicate, because that's the thing in this film, the spirits cannot verbally talk.
Yeah.
But they can just show you everything.
That's it. And so he chases the guy down and gives him a beating and narrates to you while he's getting the beating.
Well, he ends up going through somebody's house,
yeah,
through a swimming pool.
And they fucking the Harlow guy grabs this little kid like he was gonna murder the kid or
hold him hostage or something. Yeah.
Like, what was your whole plan here? But Odd takes him down, and the police turn up, and we get introduced to Chief Wyatt Porter, played by Willem Dafoe, who's the head sheriff to this town. And that's also where I felt this kind of imbalance of believability of, you're supposed to believe in this town and these people, is that, like, Willem Dafoe is a great actor, and he's basically conveying to me with Anton Yelchin that they've done this a lot.
Yeah, they've almost got like a buddy system going here, but he's kind of joking that he's not giving him the evidence that he needs to follow for the procedural of the police investigations.
Yeah.
And he just has to go, all right, Odds was psychically told. And he's like, can't you just make up something like, his pictures fell out of his wallet and you recognize the missing girl?
Yeah, and that's it. Like, Odd will tell the cop, will tell Willem Dafoe's character, oh yes, I psychically saw this stuff. And the cop just goes with it because they've done this enough that he
So I was like, okay, so the film is like, in that first 5 minutes, it's just shortcutted and got the audience up to speed with the relationships between our main characters and the world that Odd exists in.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit disappointed after this, because the whole I see dead people and help them along their way, that was it for this film, really, because he doesn't really interact that much with the ghosts or try to help them much beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a shame, because I guess in the book there would be lots more of individual cases.
Maybe.
For instance, like, in the books, he has Elvis Presley who keeps turning up, and he's constantly,
That's why
there's an Elvis
movie.
cutout in his room, because they don't have the Elvis ghost. They were like, it's a bit too much for the film, so I was like, at least there's a reference to it.
Yeah. But the rest of the movie primarily focuses on Odd seeing these things, these Bodaks, which are weird, invisible, demon-like things.
They're like misery leeches, right?
Yeah.
They leech off the taste of death.
They also kind of remind me of the little gremlin things from Dead Like Me.
Yeah, the Reapers.
They used to, like, construct situations
that's right,
would kill off certain people. But these things in this movie kind of hone around a large event or somebody who's going to do something kind of evil. So we watch this guy that we will later come to know as Fungus Bob walk into the cafe that Odd works at. And Odd seems to be having, a great time working in this cafe for as long as he does, because he's a great chef cook. He says that he's been keeping his life down on the low. He doesn't try to go too far because he kind of needs to keep his powers in check, or he'll be dealing with dead people all the time. And he's got this beautiful girlfriend, Stormy Llewellyn, who they've been together since they were kids, because they got this magical card that says you will be together forever. And so that's what they do. So like Odd's life is like great, even though he sees dead people. And then along comes Fungus Bob, who's being followed by these bodaks that can shimmer in and out of the floor and, do strange things, but nobody else can see them. And it's explained to us that if you do say to anybody, oh, by the way, I can see a weird invisible demon-like thing over there, it will have you killed.
Well, if you look directly at it, like you can see it, they recognize that you can see them.
Yeah.
And then they will kill you.
And then, yeah.
When I finally saw one, I gave him the finger, Holmes.
Don't you know? If they find out you can see them, they will kill you.
It cuts to a flashback where Odd is talking to someone who's just like, hey, I just gave them one of those things, the finger. And he's like, why did you do that? Don't you know that? And he gets run over by a car.
Yeah.
And then it rewinds again, and we can see that one of those creatures has farted on the driver, I suppose, and
I
it
thought
caused
it
him to
kind
have
of, possessed him.
I couldn't really tell what was going on.
But we start to see more and more of these things. So now it's a mystery for Odd to then go and uncover who this Fungus Bob is.
Absolutely, because Odd says, like, not a one of them turned up for the girl that had died at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
But he was like, so for the multiple of them to be following Bob around?
Yeah.
He's like, this town is in serious trouble.
Yeah, so like at this point, I'm like, well, either the town's going to get blown up or something big is going to happen. But like I said, the weakness in the movie, and this is where obviously the budget fails, is that we are having this kind of low budget kind of following sequence of Odd, Anton Yelchin's character, following this Fungus Bob and trying to work out what the mystery is. But what we do get are these great kind of conversational pieces, which I'm sure would work well in the context of a comic book as well, where the characters are interacting. He has his interaction with Stormy at the mall where she works at this ice cream parlor, and she really cares for him. She really loves him. She doesn't want him doing these horrible things because he's going to get into terrible, horrible situations. But she also knows that he has to because he's got this magical gift, and she wants him to utilize his magical gift.
Exactly, yeah. And so he does start... He has this ability where he can sort of attune himself in with his target. So even though he's lost Bob, he just decides to start walking around town.
Yeah.
And eventually his homing beacon will just bring him straight to him.
Yeah. And he follows Bob to Bob's, hut somewhere, I suppose. And then Bob ends up driving off. And Odd breaks in and finds... Well, he doesn't find much until he gets to the door, and then the door's really cold.
Yeah.
There appears to be some ghosts screaming at him. So I'm like, oh, there's ghosts in the room. But then when he opens up the room, he finds a weird kind of tiny portal thing on the wall. And I'm like, don't put your arm in there. And then I said to myself, this is Odd Thomas. Of course he's going to put his arm in there. It's an odd thing to do.
Right. And then we find out it's basically a wormhole for where these things are coming out from.
Yeah.
And I was like, but we saw them just come out of the ground. Why did they need a specific portal?
Yeah.
But Odd also, when he's rummaging around, he discovers lots of memorabilia and newspaper clippings and cutouts. And it turns out that it looks like Bob is idolizing serial killers or renowned mass murderers.
Yeah.
But it's not long before he's also disturbed where someone, we don't actually get to see who it is, comes back to the house.
Yeah.
And Odd ends up escaping. He ends up being... he gets barked at by the dogs.
Yeah.
But then whoever is now in the house yells at the dogs, goes back in, and that's when Odd manages to escape.
Yeah, and he heads back over to Sheriff Porter's house, who's having a barbecue. And he's basically, filling him in these details. Look, this guy I've got a really strange feeling about this guy. I feel like something's going to kick off. He's got all this weird memorabilia in his place. Do you think you can go over and investigate it? And in Willem Dafoe's character's case, he's like, look, you're not giving me enough. I can't just barge in there. I know you and I know the situations we've been in, so he's probably a weirdo, but I just can't take him down. And so then we get introduced to these two police officers as well. And one of them, like, I thought this girl that he brought to the barbecue was the sheriff's daughter. It's not. It's just some random blonde girl he brings to the place. But she ends up having a conversation with Odd while Porter and one of the cops goes off to investigate Fungus Bob. And like I said, the movie's really low budget, so this conversation really doesn't go anywhere. But it was nice as well because she's kind of coming on to Odd.
Pretty much, yeah.
But he's like, oh yeah, no, I enjoy
cooking and whisking eggs. He's like, yeah, there's many
Yeah.
different ways you can do them.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, he doesn't get it. But it's because the film is reinforcing over and over and over again how much Odd and Stormy are so in love.
Yeah.
And that it's destiny that they'll be together forever.
Yeah.
So he's just, I think he knows she's coming on to him, but he's just like, there's no one for me but Stormy, so.
Yeah. We do get a really weird kind of random dream sequence where Odd's walking down an alleyway and he gets confronted by a massive bowling team of people with weird faces and somebody mows them down with gunfire and Odd gets shot, but he gets carried home by one of the ghosts and he wakes up in his bed and he's fine and he realizes that obviously this is a premonition of something bad's going to happen. He finds out through one of the waitresses or people who works at the diner, Viola, that she's had kind of a dream like this as well, and her two children were dead. And Odd realizes this is going to happen on August 15th because he gets this information from Fungus Bob's place. And August 15th just happens to be the very next day.
Right. I love how he keeps calling up the chief. He's like, hey, like, I'm just checking in and giving you an update. And every time he's in bed with his wife.
Yeah, the chief's trying to get
comedy
some.
gags, right? Yeah. Because like, there was a reference to him trying to get some at the very beginning when he's in the cafe getting breakfast.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's not meant to be. There's also another character, Ozzy, who I think is a much bigger part in the books, turns up. And he's like, hey, I make this thing that you wanted.
Patton Oswalt.
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
He was he turned up and he, like you said, he was asked by Odd to make a heart-shaped necklace out of silver.
Or out of steel.
Or out of steel, sorry. And what Ozzy has done, he's actually made half a heart to scale out of steel. And so Odd gives this to Detective Porter and says that, look, this is for you. And Detective Porter, Sheriff Porter's just like, why? And Odd's just like, look, just please, for my own protection, because I'm having these dreams again about gunfire and stuff. I loved the callback as well, where you had, because obviously the director did Mummy and Mummy 2. We had Arnold Vosloo turn up.
And that one odd random ghost who's not shuffled on yet.
Yeah. But it's the way he acts in his sequences with the severed arm.
Right.
And
he's still carrying it around.
That's it. He died because he lost his arm like that and he's picking his nose vent and all that sort of crazy stuff. But Odd decides that he's going to go off and have a romantic meal with Stormy at the church. And while there, they see that Fungus Bob is really angry and making his way to the church. And so Odd and Stormy hide in the church from Fungus Bob. And I suppose this was where maybe the first notice I had where I felt like there was no budget.
Yeah, I agree also. I also feel like the pacing here was being really rushed.
Yeah.
Because the two of them at first are up on the church like balcony, I suppose, to have a picnic.
Yeah.
And they have like, in the space of 60 seconds, they have a conversation about 4 different topics.
Yes.
It's like bang, 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 get all those bullet points out. And then it's like, and then before they've even sat down and start eating a thing, Bob's turned up. And so we're just rushing right into the next, I guess, chase action bit.
That's it. And they rush into the church and there's some banging, but then they rush into the back room and then there's some talking about if they should try to escape. And then they come out and then there's a little bit more banging, but they rush out. And I'm like, wow, that was empty. That
was anticlimactic, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Visually, it wasn't very appealing and it looked yeah, it just didn't. It looked a bit flat, like a made-for-TV film.
It is, and weirdly enough, like it does pay off in the script later on. Like Odd comes up with an idea and goes, "Oh, that's why that was." But when you watch the sequence, and then in comparison to other sequences that do have budget and are filmed quite well, you know, as an experienced viewer, you're like, the actors are just holding these sequences together to keep the pacing going so that they can get out. But yeah, the investigation deepens because they can't find any evidence on Fungus Bob. He seems to have disappeared. They have also been waiting at
The bowling alley,
the
because they
bowling
figured
alley.
that's where it would happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and nothing is going to happen there. And so
Odd's like, well, you know what? I need to go and speak to Viola again and question her about her dream to
Yeah.
get some more details.
yeah,
So they drive over there and they question her, and of course he's also quite friendly with her two daughters as
Yeah,
well, who
yeah.
he entertains at the cafe.
yeah.
But yeah, then questions her and gets some more details, and we get some flashes of like hands and blood and
Yeah.
mass bodies, and so Odd's just like, you know what, this is actually pretty bad. So I need you to take your daughters and just go.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone where you're going. Just go there.
And he goes up to the bedroom though, doesn't he? And there are just Bodaks everywhere.
Yeah.
And obviously only he can see them, but he's also acting like he's not
can't,
see
yeah.
them. And there appears to be this alpha one, this one Bodak that seems to be bigger than the rest, and that is acting kind of, where the rest of them are all kind of acting like, you know, they have no independent thought. This one is stopping every now and again and looking around and waiting to see if Odd is going to react from it. So I was like, oh, that would be cool. You know, but I've always got to admit, the effect of them was really horrible and jarring to look at for long periods.
I agree. I mean, I was like, how do I rate the CGI in the film? And I was like,
Exactly.
it's up and down, but considering they are spectral, otherworldly phantasm entities,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, you can get away with the ropiness of the CGI, but I was like, but I really want to see what their design is.
But at the same time, I can also kind of forgive them if the animators and special effects guy had no money, you know, and they're like, look, we need to finish this film. Can't you just throw something in there? And so this is what we got. So, okay. And I do like Anton Yelchin reacting to it because he does look scared and he does look terrified. But he's getting ready for the very next day. And when he goes home, he comes across Fungus Bob's body. And you're like, oh, what?
And so Odd is immediately like, well, I'm being framed. This is a setup.
Yeah.
So there's the gun. And there's some bullets in there too, so I'll take that just in case. And meanwhile, Willem Dafoe's already caught up and gone, yeah, I don't think it was Bob at the church. There's no fingerprints, but I'll take your word for it anyway.
Yeah.
And we're seeing dead Bob, and we're like, he was a ghost already.
Yes.
But now Odd is like, well, I guess I'm going to have to hide the body. I mean, is anyone really going to come to his house to find the body anyway? But he's like, you know what? I need to take the body somewhere. So we got the whole escapade of him throwing it out the window. Sorry, Mrs. Baba Bob.
Yeah.
Hey, Mrs. Bob, sorry, it's just me again. It's just Odd. I'm just going to borrow your car now. Go back to bed.
I did like that line because he ties it up really quite nice. Like he's done it before.
What
And
does he say?
He goes, I'll either get pulled over for carrying a dead body or the world's biggest joint.
Right.
If I'm caught, I'll either be arrested for murder or rolling what looks like the biggest joint ever.
Now, apparently, is it Kevin J. O'Connor, the guy with the screechy voice from
Yes,
The Mummy,
yes.
was supposed to play Bob.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it didn't happen, and then we had this actor who's probably like 5 times the size of that of the other actor.
Yes, yeah.
And yet somehow Odd Thomas is able to pick this guy up out the window, pick him up, get him into the car, pick him up and drag him all the way into this abandoned like stripper club, cafe,
Yeah.
prison. Like it was been
Yeah.
used for multiple things, and get it into that chamber. I was like, man, I mean, he does sound exhausted when he puts it down, but I was like, I found it hard to believe.
Yeah.
Despite Odd also explaining that he's had to keep physically fit because occasionally he has to fight
Yeah.
the murderers of people who he's come to like avenge.
Yeah. And it gets fed to us as well that the blonde girl who turned up at the cop's house for the barbecue had been chased by the random guard dogs from Fungus Bob's house, and the dogs were shot and killed by this guy who accidentally killed her as well. And so the police are investigating this and trying to understand, how this girl got out into the middle of nowhere and why these dogs are there. And I got well confused because I thought she was the daughter to Willem Dafoe's character. That's why she turned up at the barbecue. But she's not. She's just the girlfriend of one of these cops. And we'd had these two, like I said, cops established to us at the beginning. One of them's got a POD tattoo, which the film doesn't really explain very well. So I thought it was POD, the religious band, from the
Youth of
late
a Nation.
90s. Yeah, Youth of a Nation. I was like, oh, I like POD. I'm so alive, that one.
Yeah.
But no, it's not that. It's something completely different. But we also get some kind of strange, unknown person turn up and shoot Willem Dafoe's character while he's at home. And so we're like, oh no, tragedy, the sheriff has been killed. Luckily, he was wearing a special steel heart plate, which has saved his life.
Again, I really liked Anton's acting, whether it was extra makeup or his acting, I don't know, but he really sold the heartbreak when he came into the hospital, and the wife's just like, you've saved his life, he was wearing this.
Yeah.
This is where the first 2 bullets went, and they're trying to get the fragments of the third one out right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
That's brilliant. But we get to the next day. It's August 15th. Odd doesn't want his girlfriend to go to work. He's certain something bad's going to happen. He's unsure where it's all going to accumulate. And so he's looking for more information of where this tragedy is going to be. And he goes back to Fungus Bob's house and is looking for the evidence. And you get this kind of crappy explosion thing happen, which is like CGI fire.
Yeah, it's not great.
You can't do it no more. Past 1999, you can't do it.
Not like this, anyway.
No. If your movie is set in 20 anything, do not use CGI fire. It is bad. But he comes across the evidence and the information that obviously something bad's going to head at the mall. So he heads to the shopping mall as quickly as he can, and he starts working his way through, because obviously he's still using his kind of psychic ability of something bad's going to happen, this is where it's brought me. He gets back to the security office and finds the security guards dead and a masked man with a machine gun.
He hits him in the face with a bat.
Yeah, picks that motherfucker out.
Right? Reveals the mask. I'm like, yeah, that did some damage.
Yeah.
But we realize that the masked gunman was a police officer.
Yes, it's the blonde police officer that we'd seen with the blonde girl earlier, and Odd realizes that actually the blonde girl must have cottoned on, because he's put together the evidence that Fungus Bob and the cops, POD stands for Prince of Darkness.
Oh my God!
POD, the religious band, and that these guys were all in on it together. He will also come up with the information that there was a fourth person once he's killed one of the shooters who's down in the mall shooting the place up. And you're just like, oh my God, it just feels so rushed and, like I said, forced, that there's no real big explanation other than the 2 cops knew each other from school and were Satan worshippers and had convinced Fungus Bob and the bald guy that we'd seen killed the dogs earlier to join their little group. And they
killed off Bob because he was proving to be a liability, because he was drawing the attention of Odd.
Yeah.
But Odd was drawn to him because of the attention of the Bodaks.
Yeah.
But then we're still questioning whether the Bodaks were setting up Odd because the Bodaks weren't following the other police officers.
Yeah, that's right. They tricked him, didn't
yes.
they? They fooled him, which was like, oh, they could do that? There's really no climax with the alpha one.
No. Well, I felt like there was a lot of plot threads that were established that didn't really go anywhere, like the portal to hell in the cupboard, which disappears after Odd comes back to it, so it's not there. But then his girlfriend Stormy also said to him, like, don't ever go near one of those things again, because I don't want to have to go into hell to pull you back out.
Yeah.
I was like, was that in another story in this series?
Are you gonna plan to do that at some? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like so. Odd being told not to do it, but he doesn't do it. So it's like, I was like, well, so does that end that plot thread, or should he have gone to explore it? And then again, like, has he looked at a Bodak? Have they registered that he can see them, but they're luring him or baiting him or tricking him?
Because they
so then what is the
on
consequences after they realize that he sees them? I was like, so that's another thing that the film establishes could happen, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So you're just like, so it feels like all these extra threads that should go somewhere.
Yeah. But he takes out the guy at the security station, and then he shoots another one down in the mall.
I also want to say, for like mass public shootings
Yeah.
is obviously horrible. It's going on over and over and over again. It's always in the news.
That could have been why this movie was shown.
Every other week.
Yeah.
But it also felt like this film did it very safely. Like, there's very little bloodshed that we see on screen. I don't actually think we see a single person take a bullet.
Oh, we do.
Was there one?
Yes, because Odd, after taking out the two guys in the mall, heads down into the basement because he realizes
Oh,
actually
you're right.
the
It was the guy who goes to get the grinder.
And he comes to this van that he'd seen gone missing and opens up the van. There's a bomb in the back. And he sees the very last cop, the one with the POD tattoo, who seems to get possessed by the Alpha Bodak, who turns around and he shoots the guy with the grinder. And Odd jumps in the back of the car. Oh, actually, Odd gets shot like 3 times as well.
Oh, true, yeah.
So, and
but I just mean of the public mass shooting thing.
No.
The film kind of keeps it as safe as possible. The film has a 15 rating.
Yeah.
So there's no nudity and there's minimal blood and foul language, really. It feels very safe, honestly.
Yeah. But Odd jumps in the back of his van, jumps into the front of the bomb van, and he drives it as fast as he can, being chased by the last cop. I think he gets that cop knocked off by a post or something as they're riding together.
No, he ends up, the guy ends up shooting the glass, climbing into the truck.
That's right.
And Odd just throws himself out.
And then the truck smashes spectacularly into a ditch. But then the fire that spreads along the ditch is like...
Yeah. It's CGI again. We're like, it's fine. And apparently in the novel, Odd opens up the truck, sees the bomb, gets shot, and then falls back, pulls out the detonator, and then wakes up in the hospital.
Wow.
So it's like anticlimactic in the novel in that moment.
Yeah.
But the film was like, no, we have to end with an explosion, please.
That's probably where most of their budget went.
Right.
Yeah.
But the film's not over just yet because
No.
Odd now does wake up in the hospital and there's a massive crowd outside saying, Odd saves us.
Yeah.
And he's a national treasure because he saved the lives of everyone at the shopping centre at the mall.
Stormy is there. He's so happy to see Stormy and she's all fine. And him...
Well, that's because we'd also had a moment during the mall shooting where somebody was shooting over towards our ice cream parlor.
Yeah.
And Odd is there, but he looks over and she stands up from behind the counter like, I'm okay.
And that's right. That's how he got lured down to the bomb.
But he
because
gets
saw the blonde
distracted
girl.
then by the blonde girl who's all bloodshed, like
Yeah.
she's been mauled by dogs and shot at, who then leads him away from there.
Yeah.
So then you're just like, oh, happy ending. Like the music is swelling up, the crowds are cheering.
Yeah.
You've got Willem Dafoe is out of the hospital as well.
Yeah.
He's with his wife. I'm like, oh, they've all made it. The film gives you the warm fuzzies as the music's swelling, and we get montage as Odd starts telling us about how he and Stormy have now got this apartment and they're not really seeing anyone else. They're just enjoying each other's company and making out as much as possible.
Yeah.
Well, then there's a knock at the door.
Ah.
And this is where the heartbreak comes.
Oh,
Because
man.
Willem Dafoe's like, I'm sorry, Odd, but it's time. And then his wife says the coroner has released the body of Stormy. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
And the camera turns and Odd steps aside and you can see Stormy all bloodshot and covered. And
Still wearing
the
her
tears.
uniform. And funnily enough, the film had set that up really quite well. From the beginning with the girl that we'd seen who was dead.
Who can't speak.
The funny bits with Fungus Bob, and then the blonde girl leading us to the bomb in the mall. You don't believe it when he's there with Stormy from the hospital.
Because you see them in bed together.
That's it.
At the
You're like,
table eating.
but then they 6th Sense spin it on you, and she's there. And I felt like breaking down with Anton Yelchin's character because
the
he
shock
was
as well.
shocked and so upset. And then Willem Dafoe balances it by going, "Oh, she's here right now.
Yeah,
you can see her. You need to let her go." But like Willem Dafoe forces out one tear, and the Green Goblin's like, "I don't cry." But Anton Yelchin's like, "I cry all the time." It's just burning down.
and she walks out into Butterfly.
She walks out into the window, then she passes through and disappears.
Yeah, beautiful moment.
Beautiful.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
Now, it was really kind of foreshadowed in a couple of instances. During the montage as well, the ending montage, if you notice, when they're sat at the table eating, he's got a full bowl and a glass, and hers is all empty.
Yeah.
So there's clues in that little montage as well.
I kind of thought, because when he wakes up in the hospital, she was there and she was still wearing her uniform and her uniform was bloodied.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, no, she's probably not been back
to change, yeah.
Because...
But also, no one else acknowledges that she's there.
Exactly, yeah.
And she also doesn't say a word.
No.
But I think the biggest giveaway is early on in the film where we know those Bodaks are drawn to those that are going to die.
Yeah.
And Stormy is one of the only few now who is a victim in the film, and one of those licks her face at the countertop, and I was like, that thing knows that no matter what happens, she is going to die tomorrow. And so she's marked there, and so the clue has been set up from the very beginning, that even in our first scene.
I also felt in that sequence when he was at Viola's house and he saw the daughters, Stormy looks as if she can see the alpha, and the alpha's looking at Anton Yelchin, but Anton Yelchin's trying not to look at it.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, that would have been a cool bit if that's where she saw it.
Yeah.
And but the film, like Gary said, some threads are laid there and they don't go anywhere, and it's just.
But it is a bit of an emotional moment here, because the whole film is just gone. These two are made for each other. It's destiny. They'll be together forever, and the sweetness of this couple really does come through, because he's like, no to temptation. That just that reveal. It's like,
what was it he say? He says, it'll be another 6 years until I'll see her again.
60 if I live the full life cycle of it.
And he's heading to Las Vegas because he wants to.
You know, it's crime center of the world. You know, it's like all of these spirits crying out for help. And I'm like, you should go to LA and catch up with Angel. And but yeah, I guess the series obviously continues on in the novels, and old Thomas has lots of other adventures. But sadly, Anton Yelchin passed away. This film tragically didn't really get theatrical run. Nobody ever got to see it. So the chances of it getting sequels, or maybe it did, but even further into the realms of obscurity. But Ian, what were your favourite scenes of Thomas?
Man, I've got a couple. I really like the Arnold Vosloo jokes with the severed arm and him just waving at people and picking his own nose. That was great. It just seemed like he was having fun and the director was letting him have fun. There was a line that Odd says to the blonde girl at the start after he's got the guy captured and she's about to disappear, and he says to her, "I'm so sorry your life was so short."
I'm sorry, Penny. I'm sorry your life was so short.
That really fucking hit me.
Yeah, it does, because you feel sorry for an innocent child that has been taken too soon.
But more for him.
But also that Anton is no longer with us, and
I felt like repeating it, yeah, man, so sorry your life was so short.
Yeah.
You had some great roles. I love the jokes with Willem Dafoe constantly being caught, trying to have sex with his wife and the phone keeps going. I think that's really silly. I did kind of like the twist Sixth Sense ending, because even though I kind of felt like it was coming and it was obvious, it still hit me because the two of them had built up this kind of loving relationship all the way through, that I cared. I generally cared when she died, and I was like, no! So yeah. I'm going to wallow now and cry.
Yeah, sadness. Arnold Vosloo waving his hand around like a lunatic, and him in the car just singing top of his lungs, carefree, and then game over to the house. His moments were very memorable. You already mentioned the ending scene, but when the wife says the coroner released the body, I was like, oh. Niagara Falls,
man.
But then there was another scene in the film that I actually quite laughed and giggled at. That's when Odd has gone back to Bob's place and he's starting to investigate some more, and he's like, well, let's see what's in the fridge. Oh my, it's cockroaches. And all the while he's got Stormy on an earpiece and she's at work serving ice cream while he's investigating, and he's like, oh, what's in there? Oh, fingers and cockroaches. Oh my god, it's disgusting. And then he says something about belts made out of certain female parts.
Yeah.
And she just goes, what? flips the ice cream onto the ceiling.
ceiling, yeah.
It cuts back and then she catches it and then just gives it to the little girl while still talking about severed heads. It was just like,
Yeah.
it's the comedy is there, but it's not being funny. It just is funny.
Yeah, like
You know what I
dry
mean?
black comedy.
Yeah. So I really like their interplay, and I like that she's got a lot of involvement in the whole film as well. So even when she's not with Odd, their chemistry and their interactions are still building that relationship all the way to that gut punch ending. So yeah. Iain, do you recommend Odd Thomas?
I do recommend it, but don't expect a lot. I mean, the movie itself has no budget and the story kind of meanders all over the place. But what really keeps it going is Anton Yelchin as Odd Thomas. He's just great, and maybe he makes everybody else work better around him, or they're just all enjoying themselves and working to a level that it's an hour and a half. And it's fun. It gets to the end. You feel sad. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I'll watch all of his stuff, you know. Go Odd.
Oh, yes. Definitely recommending Odd Thomas. It is worth a watch, as this hidden gem deserves to be seen, as it's a well-made, brilliantly acted thriller with supernatural elements. The late great Anton Yelchin was perfect in the role of Odd Thomas, and the main reason I feel to check the film out, if you haven't already, is for his performance. Very charismatic and likeable, easy to root for. And the supporting cast were all good, and it's always great to see Dafoe, who gives a more grounded yet comical touch to every scene. The film looks okay, with decent cinematography and editing, though I feel it also looks a little bit generic at times and flat, and it lacks that flair. And the budget limitations start to show, resulting in a TV movie look. A bit cheap. The CGI isn't great, it's fine, as it's mostly used for the spectral beings, so it's mostly forgivable. But yeah, I think this is by far my favourite Anton Yelchin film. It has heart, it has likeable characters, and it has a real gut punch ending, and I feel this is absolutely worth a watch. When evil comes to town, he is the only one who can stop it. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Don't you know? If they find out you can see them, they will kill you.